Have you ever noticed that whenever you swallow your throat closes up for a moment and you can't breathe at all? Of course it always opens back up. The process is quite automatic, and you don't need to think about it. But what if you do think about it? What if by thinking about it, you somehow confuse everything, and your throat just stays closed? What if all that gummy flesh just sticks together and you suffocate to death? This is how I think after a bender. I call it the scary swallows. I swallow and my throat seems to catch for a moment, cutting off my windpipe, and panic blooms through my brain, threatening to take over everything. Then I manage to suck in a breath, and the panic subsides until the next swallow. So I try not to swallow at all, but then I'm thinking about it, obsessing over it, and my throat starts to twitch. Shut up! Shut up! Irrelevant! Stupid! Do something! What do I do? Liquor! Look for liquor! My queasy stomach groans at the thought of it, but every other part of me shrieks with anticipation. Liquor will make everything else possible. Without it, the panic will rattle me apart. With it, I can do anything. I scan the blood-smeared bathroom for bottles, nothing. Out in the bedroom, there is an empty half-gallon of vodka and empty cans everywhere. Drunk to the last drop. God damn it! Nothing in here. Where is the owner? I remember that I checked into the place without meeting him, using a door code. Have I met him since? No idea. That area of memory is corrupt. What will he think when he sees the broken lamp, the blood, my face? He'll kick me out for sure. What if something even worse is waiting outside the bedroom door? What if I've killed him and his body is lying face down on the floor and my entire life is over? And I was so fucking close to getting out of the misery, of doing something, of accomplishing something mom and dad could be proud of, and now it's all over, all destroyed. Calm yourself. Calmness. This is all imagination. Oh, your fanciful imagination. What a delight it is. Just go out into the living room and look. Just go. Just go. I crack the bedroom door and peek out. It's the ordinary living room and kitchen of a pretty nice apartment. I don't see anybody lying face down in a pool of blood. Nothing is broken. Liquor. Now. I go to the kitchen. There's nothing on the counters. I open the refrigerator. Please, please, please. There is nothing. Oh, you teetotaling cunt. Did I get a room with the one sober motherfucker in this whole fucked up drinking ass city? I open the freezer. A frosty bottle lies on its side. I pull it out. It is a fifth of Absolute. Full. Unopened. Emitting a ghostly cold mist like an angel. I stare at it in my shaking hands, tears coming to my eyes. I feel flowing through my entire existence the begrudging mercy of a disapproving God. I scratch at the stupid, slippery plastic around the cap. My trembling hands are almost useless. I imagine myself having a seizure before I can get the bottle open, dying right here on the kitchen floor, like a man in a desert dying of thirst just feet away from an oasis. But finally I manage to tear the cracking plastic off. The front door of the apartment swings open, letting in a blast of horrible sunlight. A figure stands at the door. I shove the bottle back into the freezer and slam it shut and turn my back to the person. I want to run and hide, to evaporate, but all I can do is just stand there. Fuck. Fuck. Oh, hey, man, a friendly voice says. Nick, right? Yeah. Good, I mumble. I am still standing with my back to the person. This is not valid human behavior. Fuck. Fuck. Why did he have to come home now? I force myself to turn around. A youngish dude is standing in the doorway with bag slung over his shoulder. Apparently, the owner. Hey. Are you alright? He asks, the smile fading from his face. Yeah. What happened to you? I don't know. Mountain biking. Another invalid response from me. Now he's worried. He glances around the apartment, checking to see if his stuff is okay. I broke your lamp, I say preemptively. I'm going to go. I'm sorry. What happened? He asks, closing the front door. I got drunk and mountain biking, I mumble. I head to the bedroom, my heart pounding. On second inspection, I notice that not only is the nightstand turned over and the lamp broken, but there are broken plates and a hole punched in the drywall and beef jerky sticks strewn everywhere. Jesus, man! What did you do? The guy asks as he follows me into the room. I don't know, I say, already on the verge of sobbing. Maybe I can just cry my way out of this. Nobody likes to see a grown man cry. I've got to get out of here. I got drunk. Please just take the month's rent. I'll go, I say. This is a really stupid offer. I can't afford to give away a month's rent. But I don't know what else to do. I can't handle going to jail. It would kill me. My heart feels like it's trying to punch its way out of my chest. I need liquor. I just need liquor. Dude, hold on. How much stuff did you fuck up? The guy asks. This is it, I say, not really knowing if I'm telling the truth or not. A bunch of my clothes are lying on the floor, and I gather them up and throw them into my suitcase and zip it up, only to realize that there are a lot more of my clothes obviously lying all over the place. Well, we need to figure out the damages. I can't, okay? I've got to go, I say in a quavering, childish voice. Just take the month's rent. The guy starts inspecting the room as I pack my clothes. The awkwardness of it makes me want to claw my eyes out. My suitcase won't close. The clothes won't fit unless they are perfectly folded. God, I want to cry. I am almost crying. Good. Good. It's like a squid blasting out a jet of ink. It will allow me to escape. I throw my least favorite shirts onto the floor and zip the suitcase up. When I stand up, me and the guy have this moment where we're looking at each other eye to eye. Dude, he says, you're all fucked up. I'm taking the vodka, I announce. The person sitting in the big chair. New mother. A basement full of specimens. Glistening membranes. Blurred faces laughing. Tower witch monster mountain apocalyptic sky infested with winged things. The dream folds in on itself and spills out dozens of new creatures, images intercourse. Panes of light behind everything. Ragged Muppet creatures tumbling out and chasing one another, devouring, bloody crunching. Growing panes of light. Galapagos critters howling, ingesting, affixing, lamprey succubus Voltron food chain formation. Panes of light, a persistent locus. The window pane's persistence triggers reality. Rational bootstrapping. Persistence rapidly infects everything else. The weird Galapagos creatures die off, too weird to live. All the props of ordinary reality are rushed into place just before I open my eyes. A sunlit window in a bedroom. Where is this? My new place. I rented it online before moving out of the sober house. This is real. I try to remember what I did over the last few days. The memories are a dark, shifting mess, a clinging mud I'm afraid to touch. Face hurts. My tongue finds cuts on the inside of my bottom lip. Brown spots dot the white pillowcase. Picking my head up and looking around at the room, I recall it from the 20 sober minutes I spent here before going to the bar. Beside the bed, the nightstand has been tipped over and the lamp is a corded pile of shards. Shit. This isn't my stuff. It's just a bedroom in somebody's house. I slide out of bed. My stomach tingles, my brain tingles, my limbs are moving stroboscopic oh, wow, I am inside the nightmare. Mind crucifying. Reddish spots make a trail along the hardwood floor. Fuck fuck fuck. I can't handle this. I run to the little bathroom, and a red-faced creature lurches into the mirror's frame. Oh, Jesus! A distorted mass of bruises. I turn this way and that to see my new features. The horrible tingling in my brain feels like it is going to eat through my skull. I check my teeth and my heart sinks. The bonding on my front tooth has been knocked out. The other teeth seem okay though. I look down at the sink. It seems to have been scrubbed with blood. Swirling trails of reddish brown cover the porcelain. It's on the floor, the toilet, the walls. Oh, it's a lot of blood. One time, my mom took me to a clothes store. She was wearing a blue dress and I was following her around. But then I looked up and it wasn't her. It was some other lady wearing a blue dress I had followed by mistake. I was scared so I ran away from the lady, but then I couldn't find mom. A lady from the store found me crying and took me back to her. I was mad at her because I thought she switched into that lady on purpose to trick me. I was too little to know that's not possible. Is it? I wake up by myself and go downstairs for toast and jam, but the kitchen is totally empty. I call Mom. Mom, but she doesn't answer. I can't find anybody. In the TV room there is a stranger sitting in the big chair. Oh. I can only see the back of her head. Gray hair. I sneak away to my room. Upstairs I check Mom and Dad's room and my sister's room, but they're all empty. Where did they all go? It's not fair that they all left without me. Anna and Brittany always go places and do things without me. But Mom wouldn't do that. She likes to take me everywhere. We are best friends. So what happened? Maybe they said they were going somewhere and I didn't listen. Mom always tells me to listen better. Why don't I? Wait a minute. Today is Sunday. Usually we go to church on Sunday. Mom and Dad go to the grown-up church and I go to Sunday school. They must be at church. Last week I told Mom that I never ever want to go to church again. Hey. Maybe Mom decided to leave me at home just like I told her to. This is great. No stupid Sunday school. All the playtime I want. I run over to where my toys are piled up in the corner and get all the ones I want. I've been playing this great game with my trucks and cars called Police vs. Firemen. The policemen use their guns and the firemen use their hoses, and they even have hoses that shoot fire. I play for a long time and it's great, but I'm getting hungrier. When will everybody be back? How long is church? It feels like forever when I'm there. It's so boring and the kids aren't nice to me. I remember that last week I cried in the car on the way over because I didn't want to go. Mom was mad. I was really crying like a baby and it was embarrassing. I always cry too much. Anna and Brittany make fun of me for it because I cry more than them, but they are girls. I try not to, but I do it anyways. I wonder about the stranger downstairs. It looked like an old gray-haired lady, but I only saw her back. Is she a babysitter? I decide to go downstairs and get some crackers from the pantry. Mom keeps some on a shelf for me. I go get the crackers and eat them until I'm full. On my way back I pass by the TV room. That old lady is still sitting there. Her long gray hair is hanging down over the back of the chair. It's got leaves and little sticks stuck in it. This makes me want to giggle a little bit. What a messy lady. But then I start to get scared thinking about it. I sneak back upstairs. Now it's sunset time and I'm hungry again and I'm a lot more scared. Mom and Dad and everybody are still gone. What if they don't come back? What if Mom was really mad at me for crying last time and now this is punishment? Oh no. What if God is mad at me for not going? We're supposed to go to Sunday school to make God happy and I didn't go. I was really bad. What if this is a big punishment? God can make people disappear forever. I get down on my knees and press my hands very tight together and whisper, "I'm sorry God for not going to Sunday school. I will go every time forever until I am dead. I am sorry. I am sorry. Please bring Mom and Dad and Anna and Brittany back. Thank you God. Amen." I get up and run over to my window. I can see the front lawn and the street. It's all empty. I wait for Dad's car to come down the street. Now they'll all come back. But nobody comes. Downstairs, I hear noises. Like a dog growling but so loud. And something banging on the ceiling. I go into my closet. I cry too much. I always cry too much. The remnant ember of a dying star drifts along the galactic fringe, companioned solely by a tiny world. On the planet's surface, a great crystal tower lords over a vast and airless plain. The cooling star's blue light draws the tower's shadow across the land and marks the passing of the ages. Through the core of the tower runs an artery of living flesh. Branching paths of blood are refracted within facets. At the base of the spire, there is no door, no entryway. But at the top, a fleshy orifice. Once or twice an age. For purpose unknown. The tower's mouth expels a living human. To fall down and down. Through the airless space. And land atop a scree. Of other people. A traveler passing on foot would be forgiven for wondering why so many other travelers had approached the tower and flung themselves down at its base. To die. Perhaps it was in prayer. Or perhaps they were searching for an entryway. For a door. Which doesn't exist. Mara is molting so we can't play. I'll have to wait until she's done. I've moved out of the crowded sand burrow. I think 6 different broods live there now, and everybody crawls over each other and bickers and snips. Now I live in one of the sea caves. It's wet and lonely, but at least nobody snips at me, and it's a little easier to find food. When Mara is done molting, I want her to come here, and maybe we can live together. The caves are made of gunna-black melt rock that has hardened into fluid shapes. The moons shine through dozens of porous holes in the roof, and the sea glitter throws shapes onto the rock ceiling. I like to sit back and let the shapes tell the ancient world story. This cave is nice. I will stay here. I'm getting tired of eating sea flowers, but I don't want to go through the trouble of buying livestock. The crowds at the temple are awful this time of year, everybody clamors and begs, and the priests are greedy and officious. They tell us the livestock is a generous blessing from the womb sac of the mother, but I think they just buy it from the inland. At any rate, I don't want any part of it. There is never much food around during the ebbing, when the air turns cool and the worms travel away, but the plumes have not come yet. This year it is even worse than usual. They say the ocean dies a little more each year. The water is becoming bitter. But since I live in this sea cave, I can get down into the cove before everybody else, so I'm pretty lucky with what I get to eat. I wake up to the sound of rain on the ocean outside the cave. I look out to see which kind it will be. Light yellow catagreen, my favorite. I crawl out to a bluff and let the rain fall on my carapace. There is something sweet in the catagreen rains that loosens up the whelks on my seams. I comb through my carapace with my forelimbs, snipping them off, letting them fall onto the rocks until whole front is clear and smooth. After that, I do my joints and my underside. Nowadays, with food scarce, it has become common to eat the whelks, but they taste like ammonia. Just as I am done grooming and feeling very new and shiny, Mara comes climbing up the rock. Her shell is brand new and looks amazing. We dance and burrow and make happy little snips. I have missed her even more than I realized. She moves the colors on her carapace to show me how she feels. They are very vivid on her new bone. She shows pictures of her looking everywhere for me, searching through all the sea caves. I show her myself as I sat in the cave, lonely and waiting for her. She snips at my front legs, and I dance around for her. Sweet lovely Mara. I show Mara my cave, and she likes it. She loves the sea mist and the way we can see the teta purple moons pass through the sky through the holes in the rock. I show us living here together and making it into a nice home. She shows me leaving the burrow, colored as a question. I show her that it was too crowded, and I was getting sick of all the others. She flicks her antenna at me, making slow, comforting movements. But I notice she hasn't answered about living in the cave. I feel my little plan is being washed away. Mara doesn't stay with me in the cave, but she visits often. I make sure to always have some sea flowers for her when she comes over. Lately, they have been harder and harder to find. I get so hungry that it's hard not to eat all the flowers before I can give any to Mara. I give her the best flowers, but still they are small and colored an ugly shade of Hannah blue. Despite this, she always shows me how delicious they are. Mara suggests we go to the temple to get some livestock to make a proper meal. I show her that I don't like the crowds. Mara has always loved the temple. She uses admiring colors to show the great gemstone mountain and the moons passing through the pylons and the great ziggurat where the livestock is brought out and sold. She shows the priests with their painted shells and red claws. I insist that I don't like meat. I prefer sea flowers. She wiggles her hind jaws at this. Nobody can prefer sea flowers. They taste like sand. I crawl back away from her a little. Hadn't my sea flowers always been delicious to her? Was that just a lie? She crawls closer to me. Her carapace takes on gentle yellows. She shows me that they were delicious because I had picked them. But I don't want her pity. I pull my legs in and lay still until she leaves. I don't see Mara for a long while. The third moon makes its way to the high cusp, marking the end of the ebbing. The plumes have still not come, and I'm often hungry. Finally, Mara shows up with a meat wrapped in temple cloth. I wonder if she's there to taunt me, but she offers it to me. She shows me that my shell has become thin and dull, and I am looking worse. She is right. I have not eaten enough in a while. We go down inside my cave. Before she unwraps the meat, Mara lets me know that she has become a priestess at the temple. I turn blue with surprise. How had it happened so quickly? She had been studying for a while without telling me, since I never liked the priests. I feel sad about this. How many times had I complained about them in front of her while she was studying to become one? It was no wonder I didn't have many friends. Mara unwraps her gift. The creature she has brought me is soft and pale pink. Mara likes the taste of these the best, but I don't think there is any difference between these and the brown ones. I break off one of the 5 little feelers on the end of its foreleg and nibble at it, but Mara snips at me and breaks off a hind leg and offers me the thick end. My shell turns yellow, and I take it. The pretty red juice runs all over my jaws as they pull the meat from the bone. We eat in blankness for a while, then I ask Mara where the priests get the livestock from. It has always been a mystery, since none of these soft little creatures are ever found on the land or in the sea. I have wondered if they raise them inside the temple or if they bring them in from the inland. Mara doesn't answer at first. She doesn't want to show me. I ask again. She shows me a quick, vague picture, the old story about the womb and egg, something the priests tell little children. I know she is hiding something, so I snip at her. Why does she hide things from me? We used to be so close. After a moment, a picture forms on her carapace, as clear and vivid as anything she has ever shown me. I ask what I am seeing. It is the womb. It is where they come from. Alcohol goes great with nostalgia and melancholy. It's what gives us misty-eyed barflies, forlorn poetry, midnight phone calls, the last page of The Great Gatsby, Sinatra ballads, and 73% of all country music. That was my favorite part of drinking, the wistful interlude a couple hours after the first flush of drunkenness, when you wander away from a boisterous party and look out into the darkened woods and see for a moment the fragile past floating ghostly before you, colored in sunset oranges, all the bygone things which have slipped away in the gentle flow of time. Your breath catches in the tightness of your throat, and your eyes fill with tears. Then somebody calls your name or you have to piss, and you wander back into the party. I felt like I was at my finest in these moments. I felt poetic and sensitive and alive. Eventually, though, it all became an awful parody of itself. The gentle wistfulness devolved into me sitting in front of my laptop, drunk on a Wednesday night, watching sad YouTube videos, weeping and slurping down vodka and water. I would watch any sort of weepy video, soldier homecomings, kids with cancer, dogs being put down, etc., just to get a good cry on, to trigger that dopamine release that came with the tears. It was nothing more than emotional masturbation. Just like with the alcohol itself, I had found something that gave me true pleasure, then used it over and over until my feelings had become rote and dead. The same sort of thing happened with my memories of mother. At first they came unbidden, stirring up a sense of wonder so powerful it brought tears to my eyes. But over the course of too many drunks and too many hangovers, I replayed the memories over and over from every angle. Eventually I couldn't be sure if certain parts came from the original or were formed by during later recollections. The whispering magic became a monotonous drone. The vaporous impressions dried and hardened into simple facts. Mother was a woman sewn together from different things. Mother would come in late at night with a bag that squirmed. Inside the bag were children. We would go down into the basement where she kept the cages. We would do things to them together. I thought the memories had no more power. I thought they were just abstractions at this point. Bad data. Who could explain them? And why bother? Now I found myself walking down the street in the middle of the night, trying to burn off the eerie feeling that Sean's story had put inside me. At the intersection, a stiff breeze zipped down the empty lanes, making the traffic lights sway. I walked by a bar with a patio and listened to the low rumble of confident male voices. A smell came off the bar: cigarettes and hot wings and liquor sweat. It was the smell of action. The smell of good times. I could just walk in there, have a couple drinks and hold court. Tell a few jokes. Make a few friends. The problem with going out sober is you have to make all these little decisions: where to go, where to sit, what to get. When you go out drunk you just make one decision: to keep drinking. Every other decision just falls into place. Life becomes easy. As easy as listening to a story. It wasn't worth going in the bar. It would be closing time in an hour anyways. So I walked past it, on down the street, by myself. God, if there was no closing time. No tomorrow morning. Just darkness and magic and mystery forever. If I could just be drunk until the end of time. There was this abandoned warehouse that everybody knew about. I knew it had evil spirits when I first went into it, but the crack had me thinking nothing could touch me. Even the other crackheads didn't like to go in there, except the ones who had really fell off. Those ones you see standing around, just staring through the wall. But I'm up in there like, I got God's protection. I don't fear anything, but really it's just that crack talking. I start looking around, and I find some stairs in the back. At the bottom is a steel door. This thing is big. Solid. Deadbolts. Everything. Somebody already went at it with a sledge, but it ain't move at all. You think, there's crackheads in there every night, and they still ain't broke through that door. That's a solid door. So where I was working at, I knew my boss had a spreader, like some Jaws of Life shit. So the next night, I took it, and I broke open that door. Inside was just a little room with block walls and another door. Same big ass steel door. And there was a smell. That underground smell, but also like how when the spirits are unclean, they make a stank. That smell. I broke open the next door. And it's a hallway with another door. I keep going through the place, breaking open doors. But it's mostly empty. Just some desks and computers too old to sell. I was like, shit. So I took the doors. Sold them for scrap. Heavy-ass doors. The reason nobody got in them doors before is because a crackhead can't hold on to something like a hydraulic spreader. That thing was like $400. A crackhead will just sell the spreader. He ain't gonna fuck with those doors when he can just get his $400. I still had some discipline. I was smoking rocks, but I had some discipline, so I would put it back in the morning before my boss saw I took it. But that crack had me going. So one day I sold the spreader too. My boss never figured out it was me who took that spreader. I was so slick. Then some things happened with me and my wife, and I stopped smoking for a while. Things were going all right. She acted like I was going to see my kids, but, nah. I had forgot all about that old warehouse, but just as soon as I forgot, I looked in my boss' trailer, and he had another spreader. I was like, damn. I didn't even want to look at it. I had been clean for 2 months, but the crack was whispering. It got me again, and I was back down in that warehouse. I was just breaking open doors, going room to room. There was hallways, stairs, and more rooms. I keep going deeper. I found a room full of cages. A real big room like a pound. I was glad because it was a lot of metal. But in the last cage at the end. Do you believe the things I'm saying? I know you don't believe in God. I know you don't care about the Jews or the Gentiles. The Bible is real, but it happened a long time ago. People have forgot. That's why they carry on like they do. They don't know. And it's just when people forget, that's when the Lord comes again. And He will punish us for all the iniquities, the evils we do. The days to come will be full of terror. The Lord will chastise us like little children. The smell was real strong in that room. That evil smell. I knew what I would find before I found it. There was some bones in the last cage. Little bones. Curled up in the corner, still with clothes on. I got out of there. I was gone. I wasn't never going to come back. But, God, I came back and I chopped up those cages and took them all out. Just kicked those bones out on the floor. I came back again the next day and broke into the next room, and there was more cages, all of them full. I was supposed to be back in my old house with my wife and kids, but I was down in that room with all those little skulls and hands. That's the insanity. It wasn't even worth that money, but I kept going back. There was always one more door, one more room, just a little more money. I ain't even think about where those bones came from. Who killed them? Who put them in cages? I didn't care. Then I found the room with bones on the walls, and I was done. That last night, I was way down in there, down underground. I opened a door, and inside there was just a cave. The other rooms had block walls, but this was like a mine. I shined my flashlight around, and up ahead I thought there was crystals on the walls or something. But it was bones. I mean people. Hands. Skulls. Ribs. All of it just put together. And it went on and on. I said, God, this is the valley of the shadow of death. I knew I wasn't scared of those spirits because they were already inside me, telling me don't worry, telling me to keep going back down in there. I prayed to the Lord to deliver me, and I got scared right there. The spirits came out of me, and I got scared. I won't lie, I was crying, just shook up. I knew I wasn't alone in there. I could feel the evil one down in that tunnel. It was all power in the dark. The spirits of all those dead people were all formed together to form up into the body of the evil one, formed into a beast. It wanted me to bow to it, to bow to the idol. I didn't bow. I ran. I was gone. That was my moment of testing. I didn't bow, but for a minute. For a little minute. I could feel all that power. And I smelt another smell, different from the other rooms. I remember. My daughter is more grown now, but when she was little, I'd feed her applesauce. I be thinking about her when I smell it. I smelled it then, coming out of the dark. And, God, I wanted to bow. A full-scale interface portal below a highly populated urban center. In the early days of flesh interface technology, this would have been considered utter madness. The uncontrolled incident zone would have resulted in mass segmentation and total chaos. And looking back on the experiment, madness was in fact the result. But for a brief time, it seemed like an idea worth exploring. It all started one day when a mid-level analyst was navigating a 3D map of the Honduras-contained interface 2 and felt the urge to go to the bathroom. Just as she was getting up from her desk, she was struck by an overwhelming realization. But before we get to that, you must understand some background information. First, building an interface below a populated city was now possible because we had learned how to control the size of incident zones. We could create interfaces with incident zones that only existed within the interface tunnels, instead of there being a large uncontrolled zone around the interface. This was achieved through a breakthrough involving signal cables. For years, we thought that the interfaces had little appetite for anything but flesh. Machines and other objects were ignored. They were not incorporated into the interface superstructure and did not seem to undergo significant travel. But the Chinese figured out that the interfaces were willing to incorporate electromagnetic signal cables. If a live, transmitting cable was sent into a plague's corridor, the cable was taken up by the cilia limbs and connected directly to the interface's nervous conduits. At this point, we could send and receive signals from the interface. You can imagine our excitement. We had a working example of seamless techno-organic integration. It would naturally become the basis for direct sense feed technology. In those early days, we had no idea what the interface did with the signals we sent to it, nor could we make much sense of the signals it sent to us. All we knew is that it loved signals, the more the better. The more cables we hooked up and the more information we sent and received, the smaller the segmentation zone would become. As computing and signal technology advanced, we were able to reduce the segmentation zone to area within the interface tunnels. Finally, we had a relatively safe and stable flesh interface. Still, we had no reason to consider building an interface below a city until our mid-level analyst made her startling discovery. Before this discovery, we knew that the size of a flesh interface depended chiefly on one factor: how much flesh it was provided. But at a certain point, the interface would cease to grow, even if it was provided with ample building material. We wanted to know why. Why had the Novaya Zemlya and Artigas portals grown so large, when other portals were offered more flesh but failed to grow? In addition, we wanted to know what factors shaped the configuration of the interface tunnels, the so-called ant farms. At that point, we knew only a few basic facts: the tunnels would form either underground or underwater, but not in the atmosphere. The underwater tunnels were much larger than the underground tunnels, generating more segmentation and requiring more signal transfer to quell the segmentation. While the interface tunnels avoided the surface, they had little regard for the composition of the rock, sand, or soil that they were tunneling through. They tunneled through everything at rate chiefly determined by how quickly we fed them flesh. It wasn't possible to observe the tunneling process, but it must have happened via segmentation because the dirt and rock which was removed simply disappeared. The tunnels were self-supporting and would remain in place even if the surrounding earth shifted, unless they were wholly exposed to the open air, in which case they would putrefy. But why did the tunnels take one configuration or another? What our mid-level analyst discovered as she traveled through the 3D digital recreation was that the route she was taking was strangely similar to the trip she took to the bathroom every day. It was an odd little route through a poorly designed research facility, which included a short flight of stairs and a switchback at the end of the hall. All of this was reflected in the ant tunnel. Forgetting for a moment about her desire to use the bathroom, she took an emergency escape map off the wall and compared it to the ant tunnel she was studying. The layout of the Honduras research facility, which was just a few hundred meters from the interface entrance, was quite different from the layout of the interface tunnels, but there were certain similarities which went beyond coincidence. The analyst's discovery spread quickly through the facility, and the analyst herself was given minor promotion along with a new office. It was discovered that the interface tunnels did not copy the architecture of the research building but rather the most frequently used paths and most frequently occupied rooms in the building. That is, it copied the layout of human activity within the building. But even this it did in a distorted, oblique way, repeatedly copying and multiplying certain sections of the layout, as if the building map was being viewed through a multifaceted lens. For the people working in facility, the discovery was nothing less than eerie. Shortly after the newly promoted analyst moved into her new office, a new section of tunnel was created within the interface to reflect this. No longer were the analysts detached observers. It was clear that on some level, they were being observed and copied for some inscrutable purpose. A quick comparison of interfaces and nearby human-occupied research facilities revealed unmistakable parallels. Huge facilities such as Zemlyanove tended to produce huge interfaces. This even held true for undersea interfaces such as Artigas, where the nearest facility might be many kilometers away. The correlation was stupefying obvious once we looked for it, and it set off a wave of crazed speculation. People started theorizing that the interfaces were affected by all sorts of things: the mood of the office, how much coffee we drank, the health of our potted plants. This period of wild speculation came to known as the correlation game, as almost anything was proposed as a possible correlation. Most of this speculation came to nothing. But there was one idea that gained traction: what if we built an interface in a highly populated area and gave it unlimited flesh material? How big would it get? Stay paranoid, my friends.